Yeah, especially on the World War II side, because they're dying at a rate of, I think, 398 a day. And there's something like 2.6% left on the World War II population side. So for us to be able to capture World War II perspective, it wasn't even something that I wanted to step into. I didn't feel like I had earned the respect of the World War II generation. And there are plenty of people that'll go into a room with a World War II veteran and feel like they have every right to be there. I didn't feel like I had every right to be there. Even as an infantryman, even as a guy that served in combat, I felt like those guys. I saw my grandpa's brothers. They fought in the Battle of the Bulge and on Okinawa. And one of the brothers was in the Battle of the Bulge and the other was on Okinawa. And for me, like I felt like I wasn't good enough to be in a room with those guys. And so it took a long time. I was probably 3 or 4 years into the project before someone said, I kept getting emails about what's the Veterans Project perspective on World War II veterans. I said, look, their stories have been told. Like a lot of people are telling their stories. And then they said, yeah, but we want to hear your perspective. We want to see the Veterans Project cover these guys. And so I finally did my first project on a Bataan Death March veteran. He was 101 years old, named Alfred Hawes, and he was, sent on the forced 3-day march, of course. And along the way, just horrifying things happened, right? People were being tortured to death on this route, American GI being tortured to death, driven over with trucks, shot in the back of the head, taken off, lured off into fields where they think they're going to be able to escape, and then being surrounded and tortured and shot. They would bring young Filipino women into the middle of the columns, young pregnant Filipino women, rip out the fetus, and then eat the fetus in front of the troops to show them what they would do to even the indigenous people in those areas, and then showing them that so that they would understand what they would do to them. And this is not like, well, maybe this possibly happened. This is fact. Like it for sure did happen. And Alfred was there. And he got to the camp, and his brother was with him actually in the march. And his brother died 2 weeks in. He starved to death. And he just gave up the will to live, basically. So Alfred held him while he was dying. And then the Japanese forced Alfred to bury his brother in a trench of about 70 other dead GIs. And they laughed and prodded him with bamboo rods the whole entire time. He was tortured every single day that he was in the camp. And when he got out of the camp, he was 94 pounds. He'd spent 1,181 days in the camp. And when the bomb over Nagasaki went off, it blew him into a trench. His arm fractured in 26 places, and he wasn't administered any medical attention. So he kind of had to take his belt off and assemble his own type of tourniquet, which they didn't have back in the day. He had to assemble his own tourniquet, tie off his arm, and then finally a Japanese doctor sawed it off at the shoulder. Of course, they had no anesthetic, so they just had to give him a bit to bite down on. But when he got back, he became a one-armed wildland firefighter. And Alfred's story, as incredible as it is, 101 years old, 3 weeks after I cover him, he dies. And I would say half the guys that I've covered on the World War II side have died within 6 months of me covering them. So that number is quickly accelerating. So it is imperative and very important. It's vital for us to be able to get to the World War II guys. Obviously, Korea, there just aren't as many of them. We haven't told any Korea stories. There will be Korean War stories in the future. It's just, with the depth of this work, man, I have 12 to 14 stories I can tell every single year because of the depth. Each one is almost like a book. And so for us to be able to get to more, it's just going to take, we're not going to get to more. That's not the point. We're in a quality over quantity model, and that's just the way it's going to be. I'll let everybody else try to race to get to every story. We're going to try to tell as many good stories as we can. And we're going to do 12 to 14 a year. And on the podcast side, we'll do more. We'll try to get to 26, one every 2 weeks. But the pursuit of this work is always going to be quality over quantity.